Hello and welcome to Training Tuesday, where we go through weekly tips and tricks to make your career just a little bit more awesome. Now this week we are talking about the topic of perfectionism, which is one of the most common stumbling blocks I see in clients. Now, the reason that it's so common in the people who I work with is I always tend to work with high achievers, driven professionals, which is great, but those are the same people who tend to struggle with this idea of perfectionism because they've gotten used to being celebrated for always doing stuff really well. Now I know personally this is my experience, so I definitely call myself a recovering perfectionist because back in my agency days, I used to be celebrated for always doing things, if we want something to get done, we'll ask you, or going above and beyond expectations. And this is great, right? That feedback in and of itself isn't inherently bad, but I took it a little too far. I took it to the unhealthy way in which I would not necessarily want to start things, or I would psych myself out about stuff when it felt too big because I was worried about exposing myself. Now that talks to the two main kinds of perfectionism. So studies have actually shown that there are different types of perfectionism. There's the healthy kind and there's the not so healthy kind. The healthy kind is all about striving, going for a big goal, wanting to do stuff to the best of your ability. I think we can all get on board with that. But the unhealthy kind of perfectionism is what we're worried about, right? So this is the stuff where you sometimes will fail to start because you're so nervous about what the outcome will be. Or you can get yourself kind of in that spiral of doubt of, well, I want to take this move in my career, but I'm worried because if I don't nail it, what will that look like to other people? Will they find out I've been a fraud this whole time? This is where imposter syndrome comes into play and a lot of doubts that people have about their careers and their lives as a whole, to be honest. So with those two definitions of what perfectionism can look like, that's my tip for you this week, to look at those two and see where you tend to sit. Do you tend to use it as more of a tool to strive for things, in which case that's okay by me and you can totally keep going with that? Or do you maybe take it a little too far, as I have in the past? So using it as a way to feel like you need to be flawless 100% of the time, pushing yourself to a degree that's maybe not so healthy, maybe limits you from delegating and loosening the reins a little bit, right? I know I've definitely been that person who always said, I hate group projects because no one can do it to my standards. That might mean you follow along with that unhealthy level of perfectionism that we talked about. Right, so think about where you tend to sit on those and start to change your mindset if you are falling in the unhealthy bucket of perfectionism. If you are, I am running a masterclass tomorrow for just that. So I'm going to be doing a workshop on the growth mindset. It's a virtual class, so you can be anywhere around the globe. And it is a virtual class where we go through the problems with perfectionism and then how you can use the growth mindset to solve for it. So it's one of my favorite training topics based on the work of Dr. Carol Dweck, and we use it as a tool to help free yourself up so that you maybe aren't feeling like you have to do everything all of the time. So if you do struggle with that negative kind, check it out. I'll post the link and shout with any questions. But in the meantime, happy working.